Hello you guys, it's Grace, and today I'm going to be going over my wrap-up for the past few months. I meant to do this before 2017 finished up, but I didn't get around to it, so I have September, October, November, and December to wrap up for you guys. I finished quite a few books in those months, but not as many as I had been hoping I was going to, but without further ado, we're going to jump right in and talk about these books. Alright, so the first book I finished in September was Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. To be honest, I was very excited for this book, and I was kind of let down by it. It just took a while to get started, and once it did get started, there were a lot of little droopy parts that I kind of got bored with. So I have to say that while I was very much looking forward to this and I thought it would be a very, very interesting book, coming from Leigh Bardugo, I expected just so much more than I actually got. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars. I've heard some people really liked it, but it just wasn't for me. Also, it was my first month of school, so I was super busy, and I kind of just needed a book that was very fast-paced. The next book I finished is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the illustrated edition. I have been rereading these books as they come out, and I just love them. Obviously, I love the story. I've read them before. But the illustrations in these books are just stunning, and they add so much to the story, and I just really, really love them. So I'm really excited to be getting around to The Prisoner of Azkaban. Next up, we have The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really interesting. It had that whole psychological aspect to it, and I was taking a psych class when I was reading this, so I was relating that class to a lot of the topics and discussions that are in this book, and I just honestly was enthralled. This book has a really fascinating story and a fascinating romance, so I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is actually a reread, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I read this at the beginning of 2017 and then again in fall of 2017. My roommate had read this book, and I decided it would be fun to reread it because she was telling me all of these things about it, and I couldn't remember any of them, so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to reread this book, and I was so glad I did. I love this book so ridiculously much. I love Simon and Baz. Rainbow Rowell is an amazing author, and it just, oh my gosh, it definitely had those Harry Potter vibes, which is kind of what I needed as I was transitioning into a new school and all that, so it was just a lot of fun, and I'm really glad I picked it up again. Next up, we're moving into November. We have The Evolution of Mara Dyer. This one I didn't like quite as much as the first one, but I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because it is the second book in the series, but I really enjoyed it. It didn't really have the whole second book slump that a lot of books and trilogies have, so I did enjoy that. It was definitely still fast-paced and a lot of stuff happened, so I really enjoyed reading this one this November. And then the next book is The Retribution of Mara Dyer, the third book in the trilogy, and once again I didn't like it quite as much as the 2 books before that, just because I kind of felt like it was almost being stretched a little too far by this point, but I did still very much enjoy it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have a collection of poems, The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. I loved this. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I just recently have taken a liking to poetry, and this one was no exception. I was just completely engrossed in her poems and hearing about her stories and her struggles through her poetry. So I was just, oh my goodness, I'm meant to take this in chunks, and I just ended up finishing it in one sitting because it was just so good and heart-wrenching, and you just felt for her and all the things she's gone through in her life and all these little struggles that she was brave enough to share with all of us. The next book on my list is The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is another reread for me, and I'm so glad I gave it another read because I feel like reading it now, I took so much more out of it than I did when I read it the last time in 5th grade. That was a long time ago, so I really, really enjoyed this. And then I went and watched the movie since it's on Netflix, and kind of compared the two again. The word love doesn't exist in this society, or they know of the word, I suppose, but it just isn't relevant anymore because it's too like broad of a word. Love describes a specific feeling, but it's also used to describe like I love coffee, I love this book, for example, but you also use that word to describe your innermost feelings of love towards your family, your significant other, like all of these things. That sort of love is much more like in your face than the love you feel for coffee or for a book or something like that. So there was just so many little things like that this book made me think about, and I forgot how much I really like this book. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. This is one of Suzanne Collins' middle grade novels, and I very much enjoyed it. This is another reread for me. I did a lot of rereading in the past couple months, but one of my challenges for my book log was to read a book from my childhood, and this is definitely a book that I read in my childhood and really enjoyed. I think there are 5 books in the series, and I just read the first one again, but I really loved it. It's so fast-paced, and I love our main character, Gregor, and all the other characters in this book, and it really made me want to go ahead and read the next 4 books, but I didn't because I need to read books I haven't read before. But I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have another book of poetry, and that is The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and this was another one that I sat down expecting to read small chunks at a time, and I just couldn't put it down. The next book I read this year was actually a speech by J.K. Rowling, and it's titled Very Good Lives. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. J.K. Rowling is an amazing speaker and an amazing writer, so reading the speech that she gave, I believe it was at a Harvard graduation, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I took a few pictures of a couple of the pages because I borrowed it from a friend. And they were just pages that really spoke to me, and some of the things she said about like dedication and like finding creativity in your daily life and all of this stuff was just super motivating to me, and I really enjoyed reading it. It was very eye-opening, and I did finish it in one day, so that's a plus as well. It's very short and very interesting. We're nearing the end. We have 2 books left. So we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a fairly new release, and I of course had to pick it up because I love Marissa Meyer so much. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and it was just stunning. It has kind of a different take on the whole superhero versus villain thing because our main character is a quote-unquote villain, and she's a really interesting character. I think she has a lot of depth to her. You learn a lot about her. The story starts with her as a young child, and then it kind of flashes forward to her like years later when she has kind of become engrossed in this society. It's really interesting. I really like the storyline and the characters. They're very lovable. And I just highly recommend this book. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because I think this one is kind of fun to go into not really knowing a whole lot about what it's about, but I very much enjoyed it, so check it out. And then the last book I finished in 2017 is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I was not planning on picking this book up. I was just like, it's another John Green book. Like, I've read quite a few of his books, and I have enjoyed most of his books, but I was just like, it's just too hyped up. I'm just gonna wait. Maybe I'll like get it, maybe I won't. And then my roommate wanted this book for Christmas, and she suggested that we do a read along together and we read the book at the same time and then talk about it. So I bought us both a copy, and we read it together and talked about it, and it was really interesting. I love our main character, Aza. The story is so deep. One thing I forgot how much I like about John Green's writing style is it's so real. He doesn't dance around these truths. He's just like, this is how it is. Life isn't perfect. These things happen. So that style very much shone through in this book as well, and I really enjoyed reading it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and just, oh my gosh, I haven't stopped thinking about it since I put it down. So Good job, John Green. I am very much happy with this book. That is it, my wrap up for the last 4 months of 2017. I'm probably going to be filming quite a few videos today because I've been slacking with the whole end of 2017, beginning of 2018 thing, but we're hopefully going to get on a regular upload schedule once again, so yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment below some of the books you have read in the past couple months, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss another video. I'll see you next time. Bye!